Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Pokemon Alpha Sapphire. In the last part we finished off our legendary hunting for now, and entered Victory Road, which we're going to continue through this part and actually make our way into the Pokemon League. Finally, we only got our 8th gym badge, what, 6 parts ago at this point? We got a new Pokemon to start off the part here though. This is Houndoom, a Gen 2 Dark Fire type, so it is weak to Fighting, Ground, Rock, and Water, but immune to Psychic. Houndoom, for what it is, has a really high special attack stat, decent physical attack, and decent speed. Its physical defense can leave a lot to be desired, which against fighting types can be a little bit of a issue, but honestly, it's a pretty good Pokemon to use on the whole, especially now that it has a Mega Evolution. Notably, it can either have Early Bird, Flash Fire, or Unnerve for its abilities. Next up, he's throwing out his Shift Tree, which evolves from Nuzleaf when you use a Leaf Stone on it. Grass, Dark type, so it is weak to Fighting, Flying, Poison, Bug, Fire, Ice, Fairy, and immune to Psychic. Bug being a 4 times weakness. Shift Tree, for as early as you can potentially get one, has a really high attack stat and decent special attack, but that amount of weaknesses makes it pretty fragile. I love the design, and I've used one well enough casually, but it's one of those I just tend to avoid because of some of the issues it can have in certain late game areas. Ability-wise, it can either have Chlorophyll, Early Bird, or Pickpocket. But yeah, Houndoom does have a Mega Evolution. I don't think we get the Mega Stone for it for a little bit still. But in Mega Evolving, it changes its ability over to Solar Power, where if there's any harsh sunlight going on, its special attack is boosted by, I think, like 1.5 times. But it loses about 1/8 of its HP every turn, which can be a little bit haphazard. But in Mega Evolving, in general, Houndoom gains a total of 40 physical defense, 30 special attack, 10 special defense, and 20 speed, making it pretty usable on the whole. Next up in this double battle, we got 2 new Pokemon, Armaldo and Cradily. These are the evolutions of the 2 fossils you could have gotten over in the Route 111 desert. Armaldo evolves from Anorith at level 30, Cradily evolves from Lilip, the other fossil, at level 40. Armaldo is a rock bug type, so it's weak to rock, steel, and water. Armaldo has a really good physical attack and defense stats, and its special defense isn't awful, but it is notably slow. I've used this one to pretty good effect in the past, though. Battle Armor and Swift Swim for its abilities, perfectly usable. Cradily, on the other hand, is a rock grass type, so it's weak to Fighting, Bug, Steel, and Ice. Cradily is the much more defensively minded of the 2 Pokemon. High special defense, high physical defense. Its special attacks and attack stats aren't awful, though. They're pretty good. It's also still notably slow. Suction Cups or Storm Drain for its ability. These are probably 2 of the most I could actively use either fossils in the series until probably Gen 6. Because I really do like using both. I prefer Armaldo's design and attack focus, but Cradily does pretty good for a tank, especially for as early in the game as you can relatively get one of them. Because, like, thinking about the fossils across the series, Gen 1, I generally prefer to use the Ammonite line from memory. Gen 2 didn't add any new fossils. Gen 3, I like both of these. Gen 4, they're fine. I do prefer Craniados on the whole, though. Gen 5, as much as I really do like one of them at their peak efficiency, their ability makes it really rough, so I just end up using a certain turtle instead more often. Whereas in Gen 6, both of the fossils there are just really good. Brief moment, we can actively leave Victory Road and come over here for the TM for Psychic, which is pretty handy to have. This is a better version of Confusion if you don't have a Psychic type that has Psychic yet on its own. But there's also a decent chunk of Pokemon that can learn that. So if you're looking for a good special attack to attack Pokemon weak to Psychic, you could do a lot worse than that, honestly. I really like Victory Road here in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. I like it more than the version of this back in the Game Boy Advanced version of Hoenn. Only because I like the level design updates a decent chunk, but also them throwing Pokemon from other regions you would have had no way of seeing prior to this, I think makes for a very interesting challenge. That they actively kind of mirror a little bit in the end game of Scarlet and Violet for reasons I'll get into in like 15 years or something. Next new Pokemon though, this is the counterpart to Throw from last part. This is Sock, pure fighting type, so it is weak to Flying, Psychic, and Fairy. Whereas Throw is a much slower, tanky Pokemon that's good at doing physical hits. Sock is more of a speedy glass cannon that doesn't have the best defenses in the world, but it's there to get its hits in and get them fast. Ability-wise, you can either have Sturdy, Inner Focus, or Mold Breaker, same as Throw. Sturdy is probably the overall safer bet if you're trying to get damage in more than once, potentially, depending on what you're going up against, but mileage may vary. Inner Focus is also pretty good, but Mold Breaker has a lot of good applications as well. I go back and forth on these 2 on which one I like to use more. It really depends, again, on what my party setup is in a game that I can catch them in. I don't know how I want to parse this in words exactly, so pardon me if I seem like a little bit of a ramble here. there's parts of me that really do appreciate the victory roads across the series for being just this giant last labyrinth before the final gauntlet of boss fights in a given story of these games. But a lot of them do just easily fall into the background of my memory after adventuring through them, because very rarely do they have anything super unique going on at the same time. Like, let's see, I can remember parts of Kanto's because it was the first one I saw, on top of the fact that in the original Gen 1 at least, it's where you found Moltres. I remember at least the fact that there's no trainers in Johto's for reasons. I remember this one pretty clearly. I cannot remember Gen 4's at all. I remember Gen 5 Part 1's, fully because it's got a bit of a unique setup. I remember Gen 6 having one, but I remember basically nothing about it outside of, I think the fact that there's a funny line of dialogue from one trainer in it. So, and Gen 7's is very lackluster. Either way, next new Pokemon, this is Darmanitan, the Gen 5 pure fire type, except only sometimes because it also could be a fire psychic type, meaning it is either weak to ground, rock, and water, or ground, rock, ghost, water, and dark. The reason I say sometimes is because of this Pokemon's ability. By default, most Darmanitans have sheer force, which we've talked about before, but if they have the Zen mode hidden ability, which is unique to the species, when their HP drops below half, they enter Zen mode, where their stats go from being a very good physical attacker that has a great HP and speed stat, to being a good special attacker that's got some nuts defenses going on. So it changes into a tank form, effectively, which is pretty interesting. Partner that with a decent learn set, Darmanitan makes for a good fire type if you didn't choose a fire starter earlier in the game. And right there we had Swalot that evolves from Gulpin at level 26. Liquid Ooze, Sticky Hold, or Gluttony for its ability. For one, you can find a Gulpin in the game. Evolving into this gives you a pretty good HP tank with some decent defenses and attack to back it up, but it does kind of fall apart by mid to late game, I'd say, in most instances. But it does make for a good use in general. So worth noting, that Ace Trainer there in specific is a little bit important. If you remember the house we raided north of Mauville that had the family we could Pokemon battle in a row, that's their son that they mentioned is off trying to become a great trainer. That's Vito. I don't know why, I've always appreciated that little callback to that moment earlier in the game, because I feel like it would have been very easy for them just to go like, oh yeah, I wonder where he is, and did never touch on him again. The fact he's actually a trainer you can face is a detail I appreciate, especially considering he's decently late into Victory Road, so he actively made it a pretty good distance, because we're actively nearing the end here. I think in total there's maybe 3 Pokemon trainers left in total to fight. We're coming up, the next one's right here, and this double battle right here has 2 new Pokemon for us. The Black Belt's going to be sending out a Primeape, whereas the Psychic is going to be throwing out a Musharna. Primeape is a Gen 1 pure fighting type, so it's weak to Flying, Psychic, and Fairy. For as early as you can get one in Gen 1 on, Primeape has a really good attack stat and speed that can really help you against certain early game challenges depending on what you're going up against. Partner that with its abilities being either Vital Spirit, so it can't fall asleep, Anger Point, so if it takes a crit, its attack stat boosts, or especially Defiant. You can do a lot with the Primeape, especially past modern day, because it getting the new evolution in Gen 9 was really interesting. Meanwhile, Musharna is a Gen 5 pure Psychic type, so it's weak to Bug, Ghost, and Dark. Musharna has a great HP and special attack stat, but its defenses are also nothing to really laugh at. Its biggest weakness is that it is comparatively really slow. Ability-wise, it either has Forewarn, Synchronize, or Telepathy, all of which we've talked about before, and are generally just good abilities to have if you're trying to feel out opponents' movesets. Now, I want to say coming up after the next ladder, I do take a moment to either go back to the Pokemon Center and make my way back through here fully healed up, or at the very least, I use some inventory items to heal back up because I know what's coming up. But in the case you didn't bring in a Pokemon that new Waterfall into Victory Road, like I said you should last part, this is the point where you should probably go back and get one, as we're coming up on the place you need to use Waterfall if you want to get all the items at least. That's something I probably should have mentioned last part, and I probably didn't call out at it in the future or something like that. Waterfall here in Victory Road was required to use to actually progress, I believe, in the GBA version of Hoenn. But here on the 3DS, it's actively only for an item, so you don't technically need it, just like you don't technically need Flash as badly here in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. So whether or not you actively alter your team really just depends on whether or not you want to get all the items, which I do appreciate, but I want to get as many items as I can in this LP, so here I go! I do believe I potentially also go and change my team back up just to the normal people after this, just so I have my full team ready for what I know is upcoming. Up here we have the TM for the move X's, which is just a decently powerful bug-type move. With that said, if you have a Pokemon that has the ability Sharpness, which there's a couple of that can get that across the series, its power is boosted by 50%, making it even stronger. And technically speaking, had I gone a slightly different route with my team building, I could have used that to pretty good effect, but I didn't choose that evolution for Ralts earlier on, wink wink. Spider Lilies, that's ominous. I'd recommend saving, just in case. Oh, been a little bit. Ah, Kyle! I bet you must be surprised to see me in a place like this. That promise we made back then. Thank you for keeping your end of it. It was really only thanks to you that I can make it this far, Kyle. It was only because I lost to you back then that I could become even stronger. I'm sure that you and your Pokemon must have had to overcome a lot, too. To make it all the way here, right, Kyle? Everyone's grown so much. And now we'll finally get to see just what we all can do. Standing here facing you again gives me chills. But I won't give up. I won't lose anymore. My Pokemon have given me the courage and strength to fight. I have to win for their sake. So get ready. Here I come! Man, this song is such an upgrade for Wally, considering how kind of almost nothing this battle felt like it was back in the original Gen 3. Our second bout against Wally after all this time is finally here, and he opens up with his Altaria. Natural Cure for its ability, Aerial Ace, Safeguard, Dragon Pulse, and Cotton Guard. Cotton Guard and Safeguard, if used pretty quickly, can end up making that Pokemon a bit of a wall, preventing you from accessing the rest of the team, or at least doing certain strategies against the rest of the team. So hopefully you can take the Altaria out quickly before it can set those up. Next up, he's throwing out his Rosalia. Poison Point for its ability, Synthesis, Leech Seed, Toxic, and Petal Blizzard. Petal Blizzard in specific, by the way, is technically a Surf for the Grass type, which means it can damage any adjacent Pokemon, including allies, but in this case, that's not really going to come up. A solid Ice-type move, or something along that, will take care of the Rosalia pretty quickly. Next up, he's throwing out his Magneton. Sturdy for its ability, so in most cases, you're probably going to need to take 2 turns to take it out. Screech, Discharge, Tri-Attack, and Flash Cannon. There's some potential here, but ultimately that's probably one of the easier members of his team to take out depending on what you've built into yourself. But depending on what your team has, you probably have ways around over 3/4 of its moveset pretty easily between type immunities and all that. Plus, since it doesn't have Levitate, Earthquake is extremely useful here. I believe I briefly brought this up earlier in the LP, but Gen 3 really is where the friendly rival thing started. And I won't lie, back in the original Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, May/Brendan and Wally kind of just fell into the background of my memory compared to other rivals. But this song, especially in the added dialogue they gave Wally and May or Brendan here in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, really do make them stand out a lot more than they used to in my eyes, and I'm pretty thankful for that. Albeit, May at least had the benefit of replacing Misty as the secondary character for the Hoenn region and to the Battle Frontier arc even. So she at least got a decent amount of screen time and a good place in the series because of that. Next up, he's throwing out his Delcatty, Cute Charm for its ability, Sing, Disarming Voice, Charm, and Feint Attack. This thing can be annoying if it gets off Charm and Sing, because being infatuated as well as asleep can just be a nightmare being trapped in a status ailment that's just rough to deal with in any real instance. The real star of his team, though, is his last Pokemon, his Ace. You might notice, we haven't seen the Ralts yet. And it's been through a lot since we last saw it, to put it bluntly. As we've ended up paralleling each other a little bit here, partially intentionally by me, I won't lie. Whereas I evolved Ralts into a Gardevoir, which is what Wally had in the original Gen 3. Here in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, he instead sends it along the other route they added for the Ralts line in Gen 4. Wally caught a male Ralts, evolved it into a Kirlia, and used a Dawnstone on it to get a Gallade. Steadfast for its ability, Psycho Cut, Close Combat, Slash, and Swords Dance. Gallade, being Psychic Fighting, is weak to Flying, Ghost, and Fairy, whereas Gardevoir is very specially attack-based. Gallade is very physically based. High physical attack, high special defense, decent speed. Its special attack and physical defense aren't the greatest, though. But as we can see, they gave it a Mega Evolution here in Gen 6 that changed its ability from Steadfast or Justified into inner focus so it can no longer flinch. In Mega Evolving, Gallade gains a total of 40 physical attack, 30 physical defense, and 30 speed, making it a very fast physical attacker that can be a nightmare in certain cases, albeit it not potentially having sharpness also makes it a little bit easier to deal with. I have lost. Ah! Kyle, you and your Pokemon too. Thank you for not holding back when you battled against us. For not holding back when you beat us. And Gallade, everyone. Thank you so much. I feel like I've been able to take another step forward thanks to you. Oh, I know, I'll give you this to keep. I hope it'll always remind you of your battle with me, and with Gallade and the rest of my team. And this is a set encounter to get a Dawnstone in the case you didn't get one through Super Training earlier. If you have a male Curly as one of your partners, Kyle, I hope that you might use that Dawnstone on it for me. I couldn't beat you this time, Kyle, but I'll stay here and continue training. And one day, look out. I swear I'll catch up to you one day. When I do, promise we'll battle again. That's a promise I intend to live up to. Really good upgrade for Wally here in general. Really good showing for him. It was especially funny because I decided to actually raise a Gallade on my first playthrough, not knowing he was going to do that. If anything, I thought I was going to parallel him by him having a Gardevoir, but, well, I was wrong there now, wasn't I? With that said, welcome finally to Hoenn's Pokemon League, which is, based on the music, technically the other half and majority of Evergrande City, which always felt weird to me, but, well. Once we enter here, we're going to have the usual trappings for a Pokemon League, outside of the extraordinary climb up and Mega Stone. Hello there. Mewtwo why? Really weird place to put that, but I guess now we can Mega Evolve Mewtwo into one of its 2 Mega Evolutions that I'll talk about in a moment. So in here we have the usual trappings for Pokemon League. A Pokemon Center you can use, and the final Pokemart. Because we have all 8 gym badges, we can also access the entire plethora of items you can buy at the Pokemart. And I would especially recommend stocking up on revives and full restores, especially if you're lower level than I am rather, because you maybe didn't use the experience share, as that'll come a long way in healing yourself between bouts against the Elite Four. Worth noting, if you're not using the experience share in this generation, I do at least recommend having your Pokemon's lowest levels be around the early to mid 50s, just so you're on par for what's coming up. But if you are using the experience share, like I am in this LP, well, you'll be fine when you get here pretty much universally, as long as you fought a lot of trainers along the way, because we're a little bit over-leveled, frankly, for it. Again, the experience share in Gen 6 in general really does kind of break the balance, but I felt like ignoring it felt kind of irresponsible for the LP, at least, especially given the topic of it. I'm back and forth whether I'll use it whenever I get to Gen 7, though. So let's take a look at how our team's looking at this point. We're roughly all in our early to mid, in some cases late 60s. I've changed everyone's held items to what they are shown here. There are some items here that aren't optimal. Like, honestly, thinking about it, Quick Claw probably wasn't the best choice for Boomba. Razor Fang's fine. Sea Instance is fine for Chris. But say, I probably should put the Eviolite onto Mortis at this point, as that'll be more useful than the Amulet coin. But at the same time, I'm kind of hoarding money for potential Ultra Ball purchases when I do further Legendary catching, so shrugs. Save on up, because it's time for us to go finish this, only sort of. Only trainers who have collected all 8 gym badges may go beyond this point. Please permit us to evaluate your worthiness, trainer. Trainer, believe in yourself and your Pokemon, and go forth. I've always found it funny that they kept that as a formality, despite the fact you never can really reach later game Pokemon Leagues early, unlike, say, Kantos. The ominous energy. I love the visuals for this specific Elite Four gauntlet. It's just so cool. Welcome, Challenger. I'm Sydney of the Elite Four. You know, I'm glad they finally started giving you guys chairs to sit in, because I imagine standing here all day gets really boring really quickly. I like that look you're giving me. I guess you'll give me a good match. That's good. Looking real good. Alright, let's get down to the kind of battle that can happen only here in the Pokemon League. Our first bout against an Elite Four member here in the Gauntlet is Sydney, who focuses on Dark-type Pokemon. Starting off, he throws out his Mightyena. Intimidate for its abilities, Swagger, Takedown, Sucker Punch, and Crunch. And trying to use Swagger on you pretty quickly can be kind of annoying if it's faster than you, but in most instances across playing this game, I almost universally am higher level to the point where I have no threat of being outsped. Next up, Sydney's going to be sending out his Shiftry. It's going to have Chlorophyll for its ability, so if there's any sunlight out, its speed will be increased. Fake Out, Feint Attack, Extrasensory, Leaf Blade. It has the stats to use those moves well, but again, it's a Shiftry, so there's enough weaknesses to this thing where you don't have to really worry about much in general. Solid good fire attack or flying attack or especially fighting, and you're in pretty good shape. From my memory, next up he sends out his Absol, which is effectively his Ace. Super Luck for its ability, Aerial Ace, Night Slash, Psycho Cut, and Slash. This thing can be a surprising troublemaker if you're about on level with it. But again, given it's level 52 and I'm level 68, I'm going to kick it in its face and it's probably going to go down pretty quick. Technically speaking, I'm more on level for the Elite Four rematches you can do in post-game, which really does showcase, again, the experience curve that can happen here if you go out of your way to do a lot of things while also have the experience share equipped. It's kind of impressive, almost, but even then, the experience in this game just feels like it's higher in general, even without the experience share. Finally, Sydney's throwing out his Sharpedo. Rough Skin for its ability, Crunch, Poison Fang, Aqua Jet, and Slash. Again, this could be a surprising pain given Sharpedo's general speed, but Grass Attack. The experience here is definitely skewed a little bit more than usual, though, because I didn't, even on my earlier playthroughs of this, go after that many legendaries before we went after endgame. I think at most, in my first playthrough of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, the legendaries I went after at that point were just the Regis, and that was it. Not even Regigigas, because I didn't even know it was in the game yet at that point, but oh well. Finally, we got his Cacturn. Sandveil for its ability, Leech Seed, Payback, Needle Arm, and Spiky Shield. I already mentioned that I like this Pokemon a good bit, but there's plenty of ways around its typing and all that at this point. And if you've done a good job giving your Pokemon a variety of types of moves that they can use to their good strengths, you're gonna be just fine. One Elite Four member down, 3 to go. Well, how do you like that? I lost. It was fun, so it doesn't matter. Well, listen to what this loser has to say. You've got what it takes to go a long way. Go on to the next room and challenge your next battle. I would say in general, the Hoenn Elite Four on the Game Boy Advance was a pretty decent challenge, but Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, between the options you have, there's definitely much more ways around them too, even before the experience yields. I, again, love these visuals, and this probably is my favorite active lead-in to our next Elite Four member. I'm Phoebe of the Elite Four. I did my training on Mount Pyre. While I trained there, I gained the ability to commune with Ghost-type Pokemon. The bond I developed with my Pokemon is extremely tight. Come on, just try and see if you can even inflict damage on my Pokemon. Phoebe actively starts off with her Dusclops. Pressure for its ability, Shadow Punch, Confuse Ray, Curse, and Future Sight. Confuse Ray can be bad enough on this as Computer Sight, because I think that can go off even if the Pokemon that used it has fainted. But you really want to watch out for Curse, because if they use that as an opening move, the Pokemon that you have out in the field might have some issues, especially considering you're probably going to potentially try to use one Pokemon the entire time, because with one exception, all of her Pokemon are pure Ghost type. Here we have the Scourge of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon fans. Her next Pokemon is her Dusknoir. Pressure for its ability, Hex, Fire Punch, Ice Punch, and Thunder Punch, and it can use those punches decently well. Dusknoir here evolves from Dusclops when it's traded while holding an item known as a Reaper Cloth, which we can't get until post-game. This was, of course, my original end goal for Mortis, but then I realized I can't exactly trade on this playthrough, so, oops. With that said, Dusknoir, as it is a decent mixed defender that can do some good physical attacks as well. If you want a better defender, again, though, Dusclops with an Eviolite is technically overall better. Now she's throwing out what's technically her most defensive Pokemon overall. She's going to be throwing out her Sableye. Prankster for its ability, Shadow Claw, Foul Play, Power Gem, and Fake Out. Prankster gives priority to status moves inherently, which can be a little bit nasty in some cases. Thinking about it, though, have I actively talked about Mega Sableye yet in detail? Just in case I haven't, I probably should, because I think we have the Sable Knight already. Well, for one thing, Mega Sableye's ability is Magic Bounce, which means a lot of status moves just outright get reflected. But in Mega Evolving, Sableye gains a total of 50 physical defense, 20 special attack, and 50 special defense at the cost of 30 speed, admittedly. So it is effectively a wall that can't go that fast, but it can still be really good, and hey, Trick Room fixes some of those issues as it is. Now she's throwing out one of her two Bayonets. I'm not actively sure which of the two this is. They both have Insomnia for their abilities, so you're not going to be able to put them to sleep, but one has Shadow Ball, Grudge, Toxic, and Psychic. The other has Shadow Ball, Spite, Will-O-Wisp, and Feint Attack. Bayonet here evolves from Shuppet at level 37. Insomnia, Frisk, or Cursed Body for its abilities. Cursed Body can be really handy there. But worth noting, we already have the Mega Stone for it that we got at the Pika Mount Pyre, allowing you to get access to Mega Bayonet, which has Prankster for its ability, which is pretty good. As I brought up when we first saw Shuppet, this was the first Pokemon line that was a Ghost type to actively use its attack stat well prior to the physical special split, and Mega Bayonet carries on that as it gains an extra 50 physical attack, 10 physical defense, 10 special attack, and 20 special defense, alongside 10 speed. Really usable in general. Oh, darn. I've gone and lost. Halfway there, folks. There's definitely a bond between you and your Pokemon, too. I didn't recognize that fact, so it's only natural that I lost. Yep, I'd like to see how far your bond will carry you. Go ahead, move on to the next room. I'd like to say we're over the hump with these, because a Ghost-type trainer can definitely be a little hard to go against in some party setups, but the last two Elite Four in this game don't exactly mess around, even with the level differences. I don't know why. I feel like it'd be really fun, but also really annoying to walk on that specific pathway. Someone just had to walk on a frozen road for at least a mile and a half, at least twice in his life. Nightmare of a Boy Scout trip that I don't like to think back on. Welcome. My name is Glacia of the Elite Four. I've traveled from afar to Hoenn so that I may hone my Ice-type moves. But all I have seen are challenges by weak trainers and their Pokémon. I wonder what you will show me. What a relief it would be if I could, for once, have a serious battle against an opponent. Starting off, Glacia's throwing out her first of two Glalie. Inner Focus for its ability so it won't flinch, Light Screen, Ice Shard, Hail, and Crunch. Glalie evolves from Snorunt at level 42. This is the other counterpart to Frostless that's been around since Snorunt first got introduced. Pure Ice type, so it's weak to Fighting, Rock, Steel, and Fire. Glalie has no standout stats, but it has no bad stats technically, as its every stat is 80. Ability-wise, you can either have Inner Focus, Ice Body, or Moody. Moody is definitely one you probably don't want to go for, but notably, it also has a Mega Evolution that we got the Mega Stone for back at the bottom of Shoal Cave. Mega Glalie stays a pure ice type, but it gains a total of 40 physical attack, 40 special attack, and 20 speed, making it a really good mixed attacker in general. On top of that, its ability changes over to Refrigerate, which is like Pixelate or Aerolate, but for the ice type. It changes any normal type moves into ice type moves and gives them about a 30% power boost. Really usable Mega, makes Glalie a more approachable option in my eyes as someone who generally would prefer Frostless otherwise. If you're wondering why I threw out Kenny, the ground dragon type that's 4 times weak to ice out in front, it's because he's the only one on my team that actively has an ice type move, which does have a type advantage here, and I don't just want to have Blaze completely sweep the Elite Four and gain all the experience. I want the experience to kind of get tossed around as best I can. But hey, because you're more than likely going to see a Hail State in this match no matter what, you're probably going to get a lot of chip damage along the way as well. So, go my Fire Chicken! Next up, she's sending out her first of 2 Frostlesses. She has quite a love for the Snow Runt line, clearly. This one has Snow Cloak for its ability, Confuse Ray, Blizzard, Hail, and Ominous Wind, and the only reason I know which one it is because it opened up with Confuse Ray. With that said, it being a Frostless, it's fast, so you'll likely get outsped by it even at some higher levels than it. But given how fragile Frostlesses can be, as long as you get the hit in, you're probably going to be pretty safe. Next up, she's throwing out her ace. This is her Wall Rain. This has Thick Fat for its ability, Surf, Body Slam, Blizzard, and Sheer Cold. Watch out for Sheer Cold, especially because, as I said during the Regice fight, that's a one-hit KO move, and that can be really risky. Wall Rain itself, though, we haven't seen. This evolves from Celio at level 44. This is the final form of Spheal. Thick Fat, Ice Body, or Oblivious for its ability. Thick Fat especially is a really good one to get. Still a water ice type, so weak to fighting, rock, grass, and electric. Wall Rain has a great HP stat, pretty good special attack, and good defenses on top of that. Perfectly usable water ice type that I would have considered using if I didn't already need Surf by the time I would have first encountered one. Next up, she's throwing out her second Frostless. Still has Snow Cloak for its ability, Draining Kiss, Blizzard, Hail, and Shadow Ball. If something like Blizzard does hit in this fight, it can do a lot of damage all the same because it is a very powerful move, even not considering type effectiveness. But due to its low accuracy, you don't need to be the most afraid of that in the world. Finally, she's going to throw out her second Glalie. This one has Protect, Ice Shard, Hail, and Freeze Dry. I don't think we've talked about Freeze Dry. That's a bit of an interesting move. It is not the most powerful thing inherently, albeit it does have a 10% chance, I believe, to freeze the target in question. But what's interesting about it is that it will always be treated as super effective against water-type Pokemon, even during inverse battles back in Mauville City. So if you're using a water type to potentially do some good damage against ice types, be careful about this specific Glalie because it does have a way around that. With that said, outside of Protect potentially stopping you from doing things, because none of the Elite Four members actively have a Mega Stone on their first round at least, you don't have a lot to worry about from just a single Glalie. 3 members down, 1 to go, and then it's the champion time. You and your Pokémon, how hot your spirits burn! You and your Pokémon, how fiercely your spirits burn! My icy moves pale in the face of such all-consuming flames. Advance to the next room. There you will learn how fearsome the Pokémon League can truly be. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 30, we bring an end to this whole main campaign. See you guys then.